If the laser experiment suggested that something intangible was lurking above the ranch, the aerial tests would make that suspicion impossible to ignore. The plan was simple. Pilot Kendra Hart and co-pilot Sam Davis would fly a specialized Pitts aircraft over the triangle, releasing thick trails of smoke that would reveal disturbances or distortions in the atmosphere. In theory, any invisible structure or energy field would reveal itself through abnormal patterns in the smoke's movement. Yet, as the aircraft climbed above the ranch and prepared to release the smoke, something inexplicable happened. The system malfunctioned. Despite being tested multiple times before takeoff, the smoke release failed almost completely. Instead of a thick plume, only faint wisps emerged quickly, dissipating into nothing. At the same moment, the aircraft's alternator, which powers its electrical systems, began failing. Critical instruments flickered oil, temperatures fluctuated wildly, and onboard systems behaved erratically. The anomalies vanished the moment the plane left the ranch's airspace. For Travis and the team, this was no coincidence. Time and again, devices that function perfectly elsewhere seemed to fail here, as if the environment itself or something within it were deliberately interfering. Even more troubling was what the team's spectrum analyzers recorded during the flight, a familiar signal at 1.6 gigahertz, emanating directly from the airspace above the triangle. The correlation was undeniable. Wherever this mysterious frequency appeared, technology faltered, energy behaved unpredictably, and unexplainable phenomena emerged. Was the signal a form of communication, a type of energy field, or was it perhaps the byproduct of a technology operating beyond human understanding? Later, as the high-speed cameras from the ground were analyzed frame by frame, the footage revealed something no one had seen during the flight, a small dark object maneuvering near the helicopter's blades. It appeared to approach deliberately, then veer away as if investigating the aircraft. It exhibited no visible propulsion, emitted no heat signature, and moved in a manner inconsistent with any known drone, bird, or debris. Most chillingly, it appeared precisely when the 1.6 gigahertz signal was strongest. Could this have been the source? If so, was it a probe, an autonomous craft observing human activity, or something far stranger? The team's next step was to bring in outside expertise. Ryan Graves, a former Navy fighter pilot and one of the most credible witnesses to UAP activity in military airspace, joined the investigation. Graves described encounters with objects that radar could detect, but pilots could not visually confirm even at close range. These objects, often described as dark spheres encased within translucent shells, could hover motionless, accelerate instantaneously, and disappear without warning. Strikingly similar objects had been sighted over Skinwalker Ranch, including one that appeared during a drone swarm experiment and vanished seconds later. The parallels were impossible to ignore. Military pilots operating thousands of miles away and research teams on a remote Utah ranch were encountering the same inexplicable craft, exhibiting the same physics-defying behaviors. It suggested a broader phenomenon, one not confined to a single location, but perhaps part of a larger interconnected system. And if that was true, Skinwalker Ranch might be more than a hotspot. It could be a focal point, a node in a network of unknown origin. The team continued their investigation with rocket launches designed to probe the region above the triangle. Once again, the laws of physics seemed to bend. Rockets launched side by side, drifted in opposite directions, parachutes deployed into conflicting wind patterns, and trajectories deviated unpredictably. During one launch, Ryan Graves spotted a UAP descending rapidly toward the mesa, an object invisible to radar and untracked by aviation systems. It moved with intent, cutting through the sky before disappearing into the same region where laser beams had stopped mid-air and signals had been detected. None of these events occurred in isolation. They formed a pattern, a constellation of anomalies that appeared to be interconnected. A buried object deep beneath the mesa, an invisible obstruction in the air, a conical structure revealed by LiDAR, malfunctioning aircraft systems, electromagnetic interference, UAPs behaving as if they were observing and responding. Piece by piece, these phenomena painted a picture that was difficult to dismiss. Something was present, something intelligent, deliberate, and possibly beyond our current technological or scientific framework. The deeper they pushed into the mystery, the more it resisted. It was as if the ranch itself was alive, responding to their probes, adapting to their experiments, and revealing only what it wanted them to see. And with each new anomaly, one question grew louder and more urgent. Was Skinwalker Ranch merely the site of strange natural phenomena, or was it the stage for an interaction with a non-human intelligence, watching from just beyond the Freihingen Sid limits of perception? The deeper the team dug into the mystery of Skinwalker Ranch, the clearer it became that the most profound secrets were not buried beneath the mesa or hovering in the skies. They were pulsing invisibly through the electromagnetic spectrum. At the heart of this enigma was a signal, faint but persistent, that seemed to whisper from beyond the boundaries of ordinary science, a narrow-band transmission locked at 1.6 gigahertz. It wasn't random noise. It wasn't atmospheric interference. It was structured, deliberate, and always coinciding with the moments when reality itself appeared to bend. When lasers were abruptly halted in midair, the signal was there. When rockets veered off course, as if pushed by unseen hands, the signal flared. When UAPs flickered into existence and then vanished without a trace, the signal sang its silent song. From the beginning, Travis Taylor and Eric Bard were convinced that this frequency was more than a coincidence. The 1.6 gigahertz band is often associated with deep space communications, Bard explained during one late-night briefing. It's used in satellite telemetry, scientific data transmission, and occasionally even deep space probe communication. But what we're seeing here isn't a broadcast from Earth. It's coming from above us or around us. Attempts to triangulate its source proved maddeningly inconclusive. Sometimes it seemed to originate from Homestead 2, other times it appeared high above the triangle. And on several occasions, the Kraken antenna array traced it to a point miles beyond the ranch perimeter, as if the signal itself was moving or being relayed through invisible nodes. What baffled the team most was its behavior. The signal often intensified during active experiments, as though responding to human attempts to probe the anomaly. When the team directed powerful lasers into the sky, the frequency's amplitude increased. When aircraft entered the airspace and began emitting smoke for atmospheric testing, the signal modulated, subtly pulsing in rhythmic patterns. This was not how natural phenomena behaved. It was how intelligent systems reacted to input. Dr. Evelyn Cortez, a radio astronomer consulted by the team, offered a chilling hypothesis. We may not be detecting a transmission at all. We might be interacting with a sensor network, something designed to monitor, respond, and perhaps even adapt. The possibility that Skinwalker Ranch was being actively observed or scanned was no longer the domain of science fiction. Historical precedents bolstered the theory. In 2007, a classified Pentagon program known as ATIP, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, began investigating similar anomalous signals detected near UAP encounters. Some of these signals were later correlated with satellites whose orbital patterns did not match any known commercial or government assets. According to declassified documents, analysts believe they were dealing with non-cooperative transmitters, a term typically reserved for foreign surveillance systems. Yet these transmissions were not from Russia, China, or any terrestrial adversary. They appeared in places where UAP activity was most intense and then vanished without a trace. This pattern was not unique to Skinwalker Ranch. Across the globe, in regions as diverse as the Pacific Ocean, the Arctic Circle, and the deserts of Australia, researchers have reported nearly identical frequencies preceding sightings of craft that defy conventional propulsion. Some scientists now believe these signals are part of a global mesh network, an array of beacons or nodes scattered across the planet, possibly linked to satellites or even platforms stationed in low Earth orbit. Others speculate that the network extends far beyond our world. If an advanced civilization wanted to monitor Earth without direct interference, said Dr. Alan Harper, a propulsion specialist, it would deploy a distributed surveillance system, one that's resilient, adaptive, and nearly impossible to detect. What we're seeing might be exactly that. The idea is as unsettling as it is profound. Earth may already be under observation not by one craft or one civilization, but by a lattice of interconnected systems that share data across unimaginable distances. The 1.6 gigahertz frequency might not be a message in the traditional sense. It could be a handshake, a query, a synchronization signal exchanged between nodes in a network that spans planets or dimensions. Some theorists even suggest it could serve as a kind of cosmic internet, a communication infrastructure older than humanity itself, operating silently in the background of our civilization and only revealing itself when we push too close its boundaries. The evidence from Skinwalker Ranch supports this idea in unnerving ways. During the aerial smoke experiments, when Kendra Hart and Sam Davis attempted to map atmospheric disturbances, their aircraft systems began to fail inexplicably. The alternator cutout vital electronics flickered and sensors malfunctioned. Most disturbingly, the plane's smoke release system tested and functioning perfectly before takeoff ceased working almost entirely. Yet as soon as the aircraft left the anomalous airspace, all systems returned to normal. This was not random mechanical failure. It was targeted disruption. Electromagnetic interference strong enough to affect avionics would typically require a directed energy source. But from where and why? Some experts believe the answer lies in the intersection of technology and intention. If this is an observation grid, Dr. Cortez theorized, then it may have defensive capabilities or at least passive countermeasures. The interference could be automated, designed to obscure data collection or prevent intrusive measurements. It's the same principle we use when we scramble radar or jam signals. But on a scale and with a sophistication that suggests intelligence far beyond our own, whispers within the defense community hint that agencies like the U.S. Space Force and the National Reconnaissance Office are already aware of these anomalies. Some insiders claim that deep space sensors have detected faint 1.6 gigahertz emissions beyond Earth's atmosphere, possibly relayed through geosynchronous satellites that do not belong to any known operator. Whether these claims are true remains classified, but they align disturbingly well with the patterns observed at Skinwalker Ranch. And if they are true, then the implications are staggering. The same network monitoring a remote patch of Utah desert could be part of a system spanning the entire planet, or perhaps the solar system itself. For Travis Taylor and his team, these discoveries transform Skinwalker Ranch from a mystery into a potential node in a larger cosmic puzzle. Every spike in the signal, every electromagnetic anomaly, every technological failure now looked less like coincidence and more like communication. Yet the nature of that communication, what it means, who it's for, and why it happens remains maddeningly elusive. Are we being watched? Are we being studied? Or are we simply eavesdropping on a network that was never meant for us to understand? The questions multiply, but the answers remain out of reach, and perhaps that is by design. Because if the 1.6 gigahertz signal is not just a beacon but a system, if it is not merely a message but a mechanism, then the true nature of Skinwalker Ranch may be far more profound than anyone dares to imagine. What if this signal is not just a message but a warning?